recording my MIMIKYU tier list 2 days late, so it'll get no views. Well, that just means I have to make up for that with some super spicy takes. What's good, peasants? Shibby back here. This is actually the first tier list I've done in quite a while, so yeah, maybe some opinions on some mods have changed. Probably not, but let's go ahead and get right into this. I don't really see a whole lot of time to be wasted. I don't really think we're gonna go by roles. I think we're just gonna go by whatever order this website has, or this particular tier list has for me. So let's just go ahead and do that, I suppose, because I don't really feel like thinking. All right, first off, we have Cinderace, because that's just the first Pokemon on the list here, and Cinder, I think, is actually performing pretty good. It's definitely higher than mid, so we'll go ahead and give it very good, A-, B+. The tiers are just kind of whatever, and for what it's worth, you can win with anything, and you do well with anything. This is just my subjective opinion, so if you disagree with something, if you think something's too high or too low, it is what it is. But I do think I have some pretty spicy takes coming up here in a little bit, but I think Cinder's actually performing quite well. I think the ADCs are actually in a decent place. We're starting to see kind of, not necessarily a power creep, but more of like just a little bit of a natural balancing in the roles, with some of the ADCs just starting to see a little bit more play, particularly Cinderace and Decidueye, and even Dragapult to some extent, where Spoon isn't feeling as overbearing as it used to, but still an unbelievably broken item. But I do think Cinderace and, like I said, Desi and even Dragapult are performing better than they have been recently, at least in what I've seen and in my opinion. Garchomp, I think Garchomp is one of the very few decent all-arounders in the game, and I think it's if I had to split the differences between A- or B+, I don't know. We'll leave it in A for now, because I think Garchomp is actually performing phenomenally, particularly Dragon Garchomp. I think Ground Garchomp is one of the worst builds in the game, as evidenced by my community post tab. And by the way, it is the best build out of those four that are on that poll, and it's not close. All three of the other builds are a dog water, but that's beside the point. Dragon Garchomp, very good in jungle, very good laner. Just a really solid Pokemon all throughout the game. So I think it's probably A. I'm gonna have to see where I put some other all-arounders before I can fully commit to this. We might end up moving it down, but for now, we'll leave it in A. Gengar, I think, is like the very definition of mid. You can have some games where you absolutely dominate as this Pokemon, but more often than not, when I see a Gengar in my game, it's just there. It exists. It'll get like maybe a couple pop-off plays a game, which is fine. It's kind of what you want out of characters, but I don't know. I don't think there's anything special about Gengar. So B tier, I think, is okay. You can talk me into C. You can talk me into B+ on a good day, but I think it's particularly just kind of mid. I don't know why I said particularly. It doesn't really fit there, but we'll roll with it. Cram is next up on our list. I think Cram is kind of on par with Cinder. It's definitely a very strong character, puts out a ton of damage, good Unite move. I think all of its builds are somewhat viable. I think Hurricane's a little bit bad, but Surf is very good. Dive and Air Slash are also both very good. So we'll give it A-, B+. I don't think there's really anything crazy good about Cram, but I do think it's kind of just a step above Gengar in terms of just damage and overall usefulness, maybe. I don't know. I think Cram is just perennially underrated, so I'm going to go ahead and give it A-, B+. A9, I think, is also in the A- range. I think actually it's probably closer to A. It just hasn't really been seeing as much play, at least in my games. I did nerf the cooldown on Avalanche and Blizzard a while back, but it's a cooldown nerf. I don't really think that does much for the damage output of a Pokemon. It's still really good, so I'm going to still give it A. I think it's really good. Where previously, before they did nerf that cooldown after the buff to it, I was, I think I gave Ninetales S in at least a couple of tier list videos, so I think A is fine for it now. Wigglytuff is cozy C tier. Borderline don't. I think Wiggly is kind of okay. It's actually performing decently well into some of the more brawly stuff that I've been running into. I had a game with it earlier tonight as I'm recording this, that it actually went pretty well on the Wiggly, but I don't love it. I don't love a lot of what Wiggly does. I think if you just buffed its defenses and made it a pure defender, it'd be in a much better place. I also think we should just really use a new supporter. We haven't had a new support Pokemon in so long. We could definitely use another one of those. So I think C tier is fine. You could talk me into B, but I think in terms of the defender role, which is what I've always considered Wiggly in these, it just doesn't stack up to the rest. So we'll go ahead and leave it in C tier, which is okay. It's just could use a little bit. It's just not the best. There are just better things out there. Machamp, I think Machamp is borderline A. Is it on par with Garchomp? I think so. I think Machamp has a better early and mid game, and Garchomp has a slightly better late game. I think they both have really solid Unite moves. Both very good, just carry all-arounders. You could talk me into moving them down if you want, but that's fine. We'll just leave it in A for now. Absol. Absol, after the recent attack buff. This might be a little bit controversial, but I'm still going to give it B. I see people enjoying it a lot more, but I think Pursuit is typically just a really bad build. If you know how to play against a Pursuit Absol, you will never die to it. All you have to do is just walk at Pursuit Absol. I'm not kidding. Just walk at it. Or just turn around and face it. Just make sure you never have your back to Pursuit Absol, and it literally can't hurt you. So, yeah, I think the Psycho Cut build is very good. I think Night Slash is very good. Sucker Punch is good. I just think Pursuit is terrible, and that's like 90% of the Absols I see for some reason. So, B tier. But I think if more people caught on to playing Psycho Cut, or even not Psycho Cut, just Night Slash again, I think Absol could be very good. But almost every Absol I see is Pursuit, so I'm giving it the benefit, or the opposite benefit of the doubt. Slowbro, it's still S. They're still one of the best defenders in the game. I don't really think Slowbro even needs too many nerfs. I think its kit is just perfectly built for this game. It's very tanky, not overbearing in terms of damage, has good survivability. It's just very good. Slowbro's S. All right. Mr. Mime, you could talk me into Cozy C tier again. It looks like we're kind of just ranking the Pokemon as roles rather than, you know, as individual Pokemon, which is kind of what we have so far. But I think Mime is kind of B. It also fits more of a defender role than support role, but it does have, you know, the healing that it can provide with Power Swap. Fusion's good, Power Swap Psychic's good, especially with Incense. Unite's still good. I'll give it B. I just don't think there's anything super special about Mime. But I will say sometimes some games I have played Mime and it has felt real bad in some of the games I've had with it. But I play other games with Mime and it feels pretty decent. So I guess that by the law of averages makes it mid. Venu is somewhere between A- and B+ and A. It's just kind of always in this realm for me of either very good to incredibly good. So we'll give it A. I think it just does a lot of things that, you know, not every Pokemon can do, where it just has a whole lot going for it in both of its builds. Petal Dance and Giga Drain doesn't really get played as much as it used to, but it's still an incredibly effective build. And then Solar Beam, still one of the best secures in the game. Now with Mew getting buffed, it's no longer, you know, that good. It's not as good as it used to be, you know, just a few weeks ago. But I still think it's a very fine build. The Unite move does some of the most damage with any Unite move in the game. So yeah, Lucario. I do think Lucario is a step down from these two guys, just mainly because it doesn't have the best late game, and it's, you know, the middle of the game isn't particularly great either. It's very good early, can do some stuff late, it has a good Unite move, but it just doesn't carry as hard as something like a Machamp or a Garchomp can. And I'm comparing them mostly to other roles. I'm not really comparing attackers to all-arounders. Or I guess I could if they're like junglers, but you know what I mean. Compared to Machamp and Garchomp, which is the, you know, two things that fit the same role as Lucario so far. I guess Absol to some extent as well, as just like a lane carry. I think Lucario is just a step below Machamp and Garchomp. I don't think it has as good of a Unite move. I don't think it has as good of a team fight. It's just okay. All right, Talonflame. No one's surprised, this Pokemon still sucks. I see people play it and it's the worst played Pokemon in the game, the worst player base in all of Unite. This has been my take for so long. In order to fix that, what you need to do is buff the crap out of Talonflame's damage, but you can't do that because, well, then that would break the character. And man, I don't think Talonflame is good. I don't think there's anything redeemable about this Pokemon. And 90% of that boils down to how people play it. And thankfully, lately, people haven't been playing it in my games, and when they do play it, it's just, hey, let's back cap all 10 minutes. Hey, is there a fight going on in the bot lane? Hey, is there a fight going on in the top lane? Don't worry, I'll be in the other lane back capping 7 points. And even when I am in a fight, I'm not gonna fly and land on the enemy. I'm gonna Unite move in and then fly away, so that way I don't get hit after I use my Unite move to push all of them back to their pad. Talonflame players are terrible. Anyway, Eldegoss is next up on our list, and it is straight into A tier. It's going to be another borderline S tier pick for me. I think this character is phenomenal. One of the best attackers in the game, as well as being able to keep a team fully topped off and healthy. Great Unite move as well. One of the most underrated things about Eldegoss is its Unite move, and it's the fact that you can push people around with it. You can land behind a team and just push them off a pad. It's so useful. You get so much value out of doing stuff like that. I think Eldegoss is unbelievably good, and it will remain in A tier for me. Next up, we got ourselves a Greninja, and I think it's everything I said about Cinderace, where it's just, you know, fine all throughout the game carry, compress the A button real good, good Unite move. Everything I said about Cinder, ditto. You could talk me into moving these guys down, and the more I think about it, the more we're going to put other stuff up there. I think we can go ahead and justify that, moving them down just ever so slightly, because I don't think the Decidueye is quite A tier, but I do think Decidueye is better than both of those considerably, and I don't want to put all of them in the same tier. So, very solid Pokemon. No real complaints about it. It's just a carry. It's going to do damage. It does damage good. Next up, we got Krusty Boy. I think Krusty Boy is still in a pretty good spot. Good Unite move, good early, good late, good team fighter, decent. The only thing Crustle doesn't really have is a decent secure. It kind of can with the Fluffy Tail Stealth Rock set, but that's a little bit more gimmicky and unreliable than it is good, but you can get away with it sometimes. Still one of the absolute best Unite moves in the game. Just people don't really know how to fight an ulting Crustle. I've noticed that you can get a ton of value out of waiting for someone to engage on you, popping a Unite move, and basically just laughing as they KO themselves. It's great. I love Crustle. Phenomenal Pokemon. Incredibly fun as well. Snorlax, it's mid. Flail is still absolutely terrible. I think it is awful. Cool. They buffed it. Here, you guys want to see how they buffed Flail? I keep seeing people. Oh, perfect. I have my paint open. It didn't open. Oh, that's DaVinci. Wait, we don't need DaVinci right now. We need Microsoft Paint. Where's my paint? All right, here's how they buff Flail, guys. So basically, before Flail, you'd be moving real fast, and then it'd fall off, and you'd be moving slow. Here's what they did instead. They made it so you move real fast, and then you fall off later. That's all they did. That's all they changed about Flail. It's absolutely terrible. Go away. This is how I edit things. I don't need you here. Okay, yeah, Flail, still bad. Yawn is good. Unite move buff is actually incredibly good, but it's still just a mid Unite move. So, it's an okay Pokemon. Decent defender. One of the worst solo queue Pokemon in the game. Flail is dog shit. Don't play it. All right, next up, we have ourselves Charizard, and this is going to be one of the hotter takes of the video. I think Charizard is maybe the worst Pokemon in the entire game. It's just nerf after nerf to this thing, and yeah, they buffed, what was it that they buffed a few patches ago? I think it might have been like the Mewtwo release patch. They buffed they buffed something about it. I don't know what it was. Either way, people are like, oh, Charizard's really good. No, it's not. Charizard is awful. Its Unite move can't cut through any all-arounder. Certainly can't cut through a defender, can't even cut through most supports, and you're lucky if you can cut through an ADC. You're lucky if you can kill a Cinderace with a Charizard Unite move, because it'll just flame charge away from you. Or Greninja will smoke sooner if you can kill a Decidueye. So that's good, I guess. You can maybe kill a Duraludon if it doesn't have its passive up, but I think Charizard is absolutely terrible. Its Unite move needs some love. It needs true damage back. It needs something back. It needs more damage, because Charizard, it just kind of feels like it's lightly slapping, even attackers. Like, its damage just feels so non-existent. And I've played Muscle Band. You can throw your Scope Lens on. You can throw your Energy Amp on. You're still doing no damage. You can play your Curse Bangle on it, and it's okay, but like, doesn't really do much for it. I don't know. I think Charizard is awful. I think it's one of the worst Pokemon in the game, and I'm not going to back down from that take. Come at me, Charizard, mans. Pikachu. I think Pikachu's fine. Definition of mid. Stuns a lot. Has a really good Unite move. It's a little bit better than mid, just based on its Unite move. And Thunderbolt being very good. That's basically it. Stuns consistently. Could stand to maybe have a little bit more survivability, but I don't think so. I think it has a lot going for it. I think Pikachu is just another one of those really underrated Pokemon. Zeraora. Zera's mid. It's decent. It's perfectly fine. You can carry with it. You can do a lot of damage with it. All of its moves are decent. I still think Wild Charge is one of the most wildly overpowered moves in the entire game. Why does this Pokemon get to be completely immune to all damage and shred tanks? I don't know. But it doesn't really get played a ton, so we don't have to worry about it so much, but I think it's incredibly broken. Either way, Zera, very good Pokemon. Just, they're a lot better. Gardevoir. Just based on raw damage alone, I have to put it in A-B+. Terrible in lane, but phenomenal. Jungler, phenomenal late game, just massive damage dealer. So just like I said, based on raw damage alone, it goes in A-B+. Blissey is still S tier. Yeah, they nerfed Helping Hand and Helping Hand and whatever the other move was. Not Soft World, Safeguard. They nerfed that, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about nerfing that set. Soft Bullet was always better. Soft Bullet Egg Bomb was always the better build. It's just Mewtwo was that over-centralizing that Helping Hand became, oh hey, let's just make this the most broken thing ever. Without, you know, neglecting the fact that Soft Boiled is the probably best pure healing move in the game. It's that or Moonlight. I don't know. Still an unbelievably good Pokemon. Incredible Unite move. It's still very broken. Next up, we have Blastoise. Blastoise it's kind of close to A-B+, but I think just the fact that you can get away with running either build consistently and doing well with it, I think gives it A for me. Great Unite move, pretty decent early. Funnily enough, it's the worst, as like a terrible mid game after you evolve into Wartortle if you're playing Rapid Spin, but if you're playing Hydro Pump, you're fine. And you can get away with playing Hydro Pump. I think Hydro Pump Surf Blastoise is incredibly good, so I think Blastoise is based on having two incredibly good builds. That's it in A. Then we have Mamoswine. We'll go mid for Mamoswine. I think it's okay. A little bit more of a carry than Snorlax, but you know, a little less of a pure defender. I think it's decent, nothing special about it, nothing bad about it either. B, mid. Let's start moving through these a little bit faster. Sylveon, A-B+, shreds with both of its builds. Decent, not awful Unite move. It's aight. Greedent. I think Greedent is actually pretty underrated right now. I haven't been seeing it played a whole lot, but I played Greedent a decent bit myself, and I think it's really good, so yeah. What am I thinking of? Bullet Seed, unbelievably good. Great Unite move. Covet Belch is still decent. I don't know how to play that build, but I hear it's good, so A-B+ for Greedent. Decky Dewey, A. Borderline A-B+. It's close for Desi for me. I think it's just a really solid secure. Spirit Shackle is already unbelievable. I think Leaf Storm is a meme. Don't play that build even when you're playing Razor Leaf. I think Leaf Storm, there are some instances where it's good. If you're playing a lot of divers, you can maybe get away with playing Leaf Storm. I saw a Desi main on Twitter the other day try to explain to people, oh, you're losing and dying on Desi because you're not playing Leaf Storm. No, you're just dying on Desi because that's what Desi does. Like, Leaf Storm is not going to save you 99% of the time. Neither is Shadow Sneak, but Shadow Sneak is better for mobility, so play Shadow Sneak. In terms of Razor Leaf versus Spirit Shackle, I think the Razor Leaf buffs were really good, but you just can't compete with how great of a secure Spirit Shackle is, and just being able to do so much damage from so far away. I think Desi is great, so I'll give it A. Zarina used to be terrible. I think it's just mid now. It's a fine all-arounder. Nothing crazy about it, but not the worst either. Dragonite, really solid damage, good A press. I think Outrage and Hyper Beam are both very playable. One of the worst Unite moves in the game, but it's a great A presser, viable in lane as well, so A-B+. Trevenant, very good, very strong, doesn't die. A-B+, good Unite move. One of the best lane defenders in the game. One of the best just solo queue carry defenders you could find. Funny how there are a lot of defenders like that. But love me some Trevenant. Slash, it's mid. I don't like AG. I think a lot of people think AG is very good. I don't. I think it's kind of just whatever. There is nothing that stands out about this Pokemon to me. It's just maybe you hit a good stun, maybe you don't, but either way, you're just dead basically right after. Hoopa's probably S tier. I think it's an unbelievably good defender supporter. Good A press, great Unite move. Hole is one of the best moves in the game. It's just people don't know how to use it. And then Trick is also incredibly fun and viable now. It's not as good as Hyperspace Hole, but definitely still viable. Duraludon is Dumididon. Flash Cannon is the worst move in the game. Decent Unite move, good rip, good A press. Nothing stands out about this Pokemon to me though, so mid it is. Azu, I think I'm willing to give Azu just a leg above these guys just because it does have a level 4 Evo and gets online early. I think Aquatail is great. I think that's really the only good thing about the Pokemon. I mean, Water Pulse is also really good. Whirlpool's a meme. Play Rough is dog shit. Unite move is good, but it gets online early at level 4, so A-, B+. A little bit above these guys, but not much. Espeon is the name of this Pokemon. I could not think of it. Espeon, I will go with, once again, A-, B+. Just a really solid range attacker. Good damage. Both of its moves are good. Good Unite move. It's good. Delphox, easy A. This Pokemon, still great Unite move. One of the best junglers in the game, even if it doesn't get played there. Fire Spin is great as well. Great damage output, great Unite move. Easy A tier. Delphox is amazing. Glaceon, also amazing. I don't understand how this character has a low win rate. Just pumps out consistently high damage. Really overrated Unite move, but it does give you stacks of its, icicles. That's the only good thing Glaceon's Unite move does. Both builds are good. A tier, easily. Buzzwole, another easy A tier all-arounder for me. This Pokemon is great. Great CC, great damage, great Unite move, good all throughout the game. Dominant early game laner. Just an early game bully. But it doesn't fall off like a lot of other characters tend to. Like Azu falls off a little bit, Dragonite falls off a little bit. Serena and Aegislash certainly fall off, so yeah, we'll give Buzzwole the benefit there, up to A tier easily. And speaking of characters that fall off, we have the exact opposite here. Tyranitar is a character that doesn't really fall off late. It's an unbelievably good late game character. The problem is it takes so long to get to that late game that it can be a little bit tough, but the self buff to it, people I keep seeing talking about that so much. Like, it's a level 13 buff. How often do you actually see a Tyranitar get level 13 in your solo queue games? Let's be real, unless they're jungling. But if you are, a good Tyranitar and you're able to get to level 13, then yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, T-Tar's a great late game Pokemon. It was good before that buff. Who knew? Who would have thunk buffing its late game would make it even better? I don't know, it's a crazy thought. Anyway, Mew. Straight to S tier with a bullet. Mew is already one of the best attackers in the game, and they made Solar Beam better again, and they buffed his boosted. Don't know why they did that. Don't know why they did all that, but Mew is great. Mew's phenomenal. Did not need a buff in the slightest, and they gave it a buff, and now it is once again one of the best attackers in all of Pokemon Unite. Insane to think about, really. Dodrio. Dodrio is going to be another A tier Pokemon for me. Great early, great late. Very annoying. Can absolutely dominate a game. Dodrio is one of the highest skill expression mons in the game. If you're good with Dodrio, you're going to dominate pretty much every game you play. But there are also some absolutely terrible Dodrios who have no idea how to engage with this Pokemon, so give that A tier. Scizor. Scizor, I think, is C tier. I really like Scizor. I think it's a ton of fun to play, but man, is it outclassed by pretty much every other all-arounder now, including Serena. Well, except for Charizard. I do think Scizor is, I don't know, it feels a little bit low, but I do think you get, just slightly more value out of, something like Serena or Aegislash. Is that weird to say? I don't know if that's weird to say, but I think it's true, and I'm going to stick with it, so. Also, stop fucking playing Scizor in the jungle. Why is that such a common thing? Like, I've seen Spragels complain about it. I've seen other people complain about it on Twitter, just jungle Scizor. Scizor is not a jungler. Stop playing it in jungle. It's a really good laner. It's very, 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 very good at lane. It's a very good stacking Pokemon. One of the best stacking Pokemon in the game. Stop playing this Pokemon in jungle, for the love of God. You can play this Pokemon in jungle. You can play Scyther in jungle if you're going to play that. But, it's... Scyther's mid as hell. I don't know why you'd play Scyther. I mean, you can play Scyther. Scyther's fine. But stop playing Scizor in jungle. I think Scyther is decent. There's nothing great about it, but it does good damage, good, level 5, good early game, good Unite move, can absolutely delete squishies. So there's your Scyther information. I need to reorder this, so you know what? We're just going to keep it here. I'm just going to blabber on for a few seconds as I figure this out, because you know what? I don't really feel like editing this, except for putting music behind it. So let's just go ahead. Boom. I don't want to dig through 25 minutes of footage to find this one little instance, so we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to talk. All right, there we go. Done. Hopefully we don't have to. Oh, we're going to have to do it again as soon as we get another Pokemon in A tier. Oh, well, that's for future JB to worry about. Next up, we have Clefable. And speaking of another Pokemon in A tier, we don't have to do it. It's just cutting off the D tier. No one cares about the D tier. Yeah, Clefable, great healer. I think it's phenomenal. It's probably, you could talk me into S tier for Clef, but I don't know. It's just, gravity's good, follow me's good. I think it's great. It's easy A tier, borderline S. Clef is a monster, kills a ton. Zoroark, another A tier Pokemon. It's a lot like Dodrio, where you can just completely dominate with this Pokemon. Incredibly high skill expression. If you know how to do well with Zoroark, you are going to dominate 90% of your games. If you don't know what you're doing, you're useless. So if you learn your Zoroark, you're gonna be a beast. There's my take. Very insane, I know. Sableye, I think Sableye is borderline one of the worst Pokemon in the game. I'm gonna put it C tier. I think it's you know, this weird harasser role. It's not really a supporter. It's like much like Greedent isn't really a defender. But I don't think Sableye does that job nearly as well as Greedent does, or even you know, any other Pokemon that you would want to just annoy people with. But I don't know, man. I just don't love Sableye. I think it's one of the, along with Talonflame, one of the worst played Pokemon in the game. I think the only thing people play Sableye to do is score. Most of them anyway. It's like, oh hey, I'm Sableye, let me go back cap. Oh, you're all 9 people in the game are bot. I better go top and score 7 points because that's helpful to the team. So I don't know. I think Sableye is played terribly, but I think it's, you know, weird because I don't want it to be what it used to be, where it was stunning everything and just making team fights unplayable. I think it was one of the worst metas of all time was when Sableye was at its peak. So I guess keep it here. Yeah, keep it here. Just keep it out of my games, please. Next up, we have ourselves we have both our Shifus. We have, why is Hoopa ults? There. I guess we'll put Hoopa Unbound there, whatever. Water and Dark Bear. So I haven't seen very much Water Bear since the nerf, but in the games I have seen it in, it looked fine. I haven't played it myself. And Dark Bear was already pretty decent. It's just kind of on the same level as Lucario. I think Dark Bear is still on the same level as Lucario, and whereas Water Urshifu was previously easily S tier, I guess you can knock it down to A. It might still be an S tier Pokemon for all I know. It's a great jungler. Both of these guys are just incredibly good once they get their level 5. The damage nerf was significant, and the healing nerf felt like it'd be, you know, okay, but I don't really know, you know, how significant it is. I'm willing to bet Urshifu is probably still one of the better Pokemon in the game. This might be low, so I'm gonna just go with caution on the nerf. Dragapult, I think it's actually kind of underrated. Unless you have like a very specific, you know, few characters that just have the sure hits or just have moves that don't have to aim. Now, granted, there are a lot of Pokemon that don't have to aim in Pokemon Unite. But if you run into a game where you don't have any of those, where people actually have to aim to hit you and kill you, Dragon Edge Dragapult is incredibly good against characters that have to aim because, well, it's hard to hit. So yeah, I think it's really solid, very slept on, really good Unite move. Obviously, it's not a real Unite move, but it's better than some people's fake Unite move. Yeah, Dragapult, like I said, pretty slept on. Comfey, broken. Moving on, I hate it. Delete it from the game. Zacian, broken. Zacian is definitely one of the most overpowered characters in the game. One of the best Pokemon in the game right now, for sure. I don't know how overpowered it is. It's obviously not what it was a while ago. Where, you know, post Mewtwo, we were thinking that Zacian was going to be like what it used to be. It was going to be the most dominant, delete everything, best character in the game, 60+ pick rate type stuff again. That's what I saw some people saying, but I didn't really agree with that then, and I don't think it's true. I think it's been proven not to be true that it was going to be that dominant again, but I do think it is an incredibly good character and on the short list of best mons in the game right now. But if you want to play it, I don't think it's, you know, like unethical to play Zacian at the moment. Goodra is really good. One of the most fun Pokemon to play. I keep seeing this thing, my chat specifically has an obsession with saying that Goodra is really overpowered because it doesn't die. But I also have the general consensus of just most other Unite players say that Goodra is just kind of there and not that good of a defender because, well, it doesn't really do defender things. So it's kind of more of a carry than anything. And you do have to actually aim to get the healing from Dragon Pulse, which is a pretty easy thing to hit, but you do have to get like up close and personal a lot to get a ton of value out of it. So Goodra is in no way overpowered as much as my chat wants to tell me it is. I guess I just run into people who get bodied by Goodra, or that's what my viewers are. So Yeah, this character's not overpowered, but it's very good. Lapras. Lapras might still be S tier. A lot like Water Urshifu. I've played this character at least a little bit since it got nerfed recently. So I do have a little bit of, you know, a feeling for how it is post nerf. And I think it's still very, very good. I think Water Pulse is probably better than Parasong now, but Parasong still felt fine when I did play it. The big nerf to Lapras though was a nerf to Shell Armor and its boosted auto healing, which is nice, but you still get your boosted auto a lot, so that doesn't really feel like a big deal. But the nerf to Shell Armor, that does feel pretty significant to me. I do feel a little bit less tanky when playing this Pokemon. It might still be S tier. It's probably still the best defender in the game, just based on the damage it does as well as everything else it does. So it's probably still S, so we'll go ahead and give it S. Chandelure, there is nothing that stands out to me about this Pokemon. It is the definition of mid. Like, it is totally fine, totally viable choice in any game. If you want to play Chandelure, no one will complain about it. It's really solid, does good damage, but there is nothing that stands out about this Pokemon at all. You could talk me into B+ if you really want to, but I think Chandelure is just like probably one of the most well-balanced Pokemon in the game. It's good, nothing overpowered about it, nothing to write home about either. Yeah, it's good, which I guess is the mid tier. Umbreon is also on that list of best defender in the game. It goes straight to S tier with a bullet. All of its builds are good, all of its moves are good. You can run really any combination of any of its 4 moves and get good value out of it. Good early game as well. Ton of good items on Umbreon. I think it is a no-brainer S tier choice. Only a few Pokemon left. Leafeon could also potentially be an S tier Pokemon. Actually, before we do Leafeon, let's just go ahead and get these out of the way. Still broken. Moving on. Back to Leafeon. Leafeon, I'm gonna give it A because I'm gonna give it S because it has an unbelievable early game. It does fall off a little now, getting its Unite move. Or is Unite move doing, does it get it less or does it do less damage? Whatever its Unite move nerf was, it feels a little less impactful, but I think it's still really good, man. I think we'll actually just do this. Let's do this for speedsters. Yeah, because there needs to be an S tier speedster because all 3 of these Pokemon are phenomenally good. Or we could just do that. I think that looks better. Yeah, we'll give Leafeon S tier. Inteleon, one of the easiest S tiers. Inteleon and Zacian are on the short list for best Pokemon in the game, and we'll just go ahead and do row above. Broken. Please nerf. Boom, boom, boom. there's our you know, god tier or above S tier for this patch. It's Inteleon, it's Zacian, and it's Mewtwo. Mewtwo is still broken as hell. We don't really need to talk about that. It still A-presses a lot. But Inteleon, they desperately need to nerf the crit damage this thing does, because Snipeshot is, or not Snipeshot, Liquidation is so unbelievably broken. Being able to just one-shot half of the damn roster without having to aim is so stupid. It's so dumb how much damage this character does without having to aim. And the Snipeshot, you know, it's cool. It does a lot of damage, but at least you have to aim that ability. Like, that's a balanced ability. They need to do something about Snipeshot's damage. Probably just the crits, lowering the damage it does when it's crit. But yeah, they need to do something about it. It's ridiculous. Blaziken, I'm putting Blaziken A-B+, and that's gonna feel low to some of you, because I see a lot of people talking about how good they think Blaziken is, and I think it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. And I think the patch, the buff to it made it broken, put it on the level of some of these other characters. I do not think that at all. I think Blaziken is still really hard to get good value out of, and it's definitely another Pokemon that has a high skill expression. If you're good with it, you're insane with it. But there's just so much holding Blaziken back that I just don't think it does as much as other characters. Starting with, first and foremost, it doesn't have a Unite move, which just inherently makes it worse than other Pokemon. Like, you know, Buzzwole Unite is nothing special, but it's still a good Unite move. Dragonite Unite move is absolutely dog shit, but it gives you other buffs. Blaziken doesn't really have that. It's just a stance change. And I think Overheat, while doing a lot of damage, is incredibly overrated because it is so goddamn telegraphed. Like, if you get lucky and you do get the magic moment when people walk into a bush you're sitting in, then yeah, obviously it's great. But anyone with a brain is just gonna stop hitting an objective when they see you charging it. Like, I don't see the value in it. I think Blaziken would be so much better if it were a lot more like Urshifu, where you could just, you know, pick the style and evolve into something else and still have a Unite move. Or better yet, just let you, like, I think all 4 of his moves are good. If you want to play Overheat, that's fine. But let me play Fire Punch Blaze Kick and give me a real Unite move. I think that build with any Unite move, just give it a Unite move and let me play Fire Punch Blaze Kick. I think that would be so good and so fun. But as it is right now, and as it's gonna be because that's just the style it is, I don't think I can give it any higher than this. It's definitely a solid Pokemon, definitely better than a lot of characters, but to say it's up here is, I think, crazy. So, but what isn't crazy is Mimikyu, and we'll just put it up here just so we can talk about it for a second. I think Mimikyu, the consensus was, or I guess is, that it's not a broken Pokemon. It's just a really good release and it's really fun. And I agree with all those things. But guys, I think Mimikyu's kind of freaking broken. I have seen a couple of people have that take on the old Twitterverse, and like, I'm there, guys. Like, I think Mimikyu is kind of overpowered. Shadow Sneak is so unbelievably good, just being able to get reset after reset after reset. If you can chain Shadow Sneak resets, it is unreal the kind of stuff you can pull off with Mimikyu. And then its Unite move, which I think a lot of people think is the most overpowered part of its kit. It might be, but I think just the kit as a whole is unbelievably good. And man, yeah, its Unite move is crazy, just being able to take a carry out of a fight. Yeah, you don't really get a whole ton of follow-up, so you need a little bit of damage on it, but you Shadow Sneak into a full Shadow Claw combo, you're gonna get rid of pretty much anything except like other all-arounders and defenders. But if you catch like any attacker with that, or they're like some of the less bulky all-arounders, like if you catch like, let's say, a Serena with it or an Aegislash in shield form with it, like you're gonna delete it with that. So I think Mimikyu is really good. I think it's an S tier Pokemon personally. I realize that's probably a bad take, but I don't know, man. I think Mimikyu is insanely good. I think it's wildly slept on in terms of people saying that it's not overpowered, but I don't necessarily think it's not broken to the level that something like Mewtwo was, or even Zacian is currently, but I think it's the best all-rounder in the game, aside from Zacian and Mewtwo. I think it's significantly better than Buzzwole. I think it's way better than Blaziken. And you could talk me into, you know, Water Bear being like a similar thing. I think putting Water Bear on this level is totally fine if I'm going to give Mimikyu S. So yeah, man, I think Mimikyu's crazy. So there's my take on that. Like I said, I told you guys needed to have some spice since I'm doing this late. But yeah, here is my tier list. Not exactly the cleanest in terms of, you know, you guys being able to see it. So let's just scrunch it a little bit so we can make sure we can get this all on screen. Oh boy. Wow, I just made that even worse, didn't I? Yes, I did. I just made that so much worse. Well, there's the tier list. Best ones in the game are these three. Here's your S tier, your A tier, your A-B plus, your B tier, your C tier, and your don't tier. Let me know if there's anything you just severely disagree on, and I'll be sure to have that sort of conversation with you in the old comments. We can talk it out, and we can, you know, be happy or sad about it. That being said, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all watching. Take it easy.